Welcome in, my friends. It is I, Daizo Discuss, and we're back to this video series. I haven't done one in a little bit, but that's fine. I have a special guest this episode, because we both kind of have something to talk about the Brutal Dream, actually being, well, he can probably explain it.
Well, first of all, hello, evil ones. Although you're not my evil ones, I'm Evil Guy 0613. And, yeah, the Brutal Dream is not a dream anymore. It's a reality.
I can't believe it's fucking real, dude.
No, it's, you asked me that if you would have said, hey, evil, we're gonna be creating the next Brutal Mario, I would not have believed you. I would not believe this would ever be a thing, but, you know, here we are.
Well, okay. The real story with that is basically, yeah, if I asked him that years ago, he would be like, you're crazy, I'm not joining you. But I decide, hey, you know, if no one's gonna do it already, we might as well be the ones to do it. And I also invited, like, 3 other members. They're not joining this little discussion thing, but I don't know, it's so crazy to me that not only is it real, not only does it exist and you can play it, but the fact we made it.
Yes, we, exactly. And like, I mean, I mentioned this in my, year recap. I was like, I tried to do ASM before, and I was like, I just can't get the grasp of this. So, when I realized what we were doing, I'm like, how the heck are we I'm gonna be honest, Daizo Discuss definitely pulled this off himself without a team.
Yeah, I could definitely do this myself, but, like, it's a HackJAM, so you gotta have members. So I just invited 4 other people just to join, so I could do this by my— no, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I did not make, all of it. I only made, like, the final level and one of the other bosses?
Yeah, you made all the final level, all the bosses in that level, and then you made the boss for the 4th level, the bridge.
Yeah, the princess from Magical Poppin', which I actually meant to play that game, but because time was at a crunch, I just watched like a long play of the game, almost all the way to the end, but I didn't really want to spoil myself with the final boss. But I got the basic gist of like the player movement and stuff, and that's kind of why it's a lot more accurate than a lot of my game-based bosses, pretty much. Like, if you see, like, Ultima Hawkmouth, he's not that accurate to the game that he is based off of. But, you know, Brutal Mario itself doesn't really follow the rules of the actual games that much either, though Carol has played those games, so, you know.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few Brutal Mario bosses that are different from, like, its procedure. 2 of them I can think of off my head are, the Light Gazer, that giant eye-looking thing, and Flammy, aka... No, not Flammy. Monabeast, aka the Lemmy boss.
Yeah.
So I'm like, accuracy is actually nice, but sometimes seeing how you could operate the boss differently is also cool.
But yeah, Evil Guy, you didn't just do, like, your level either. You actually did, like, 2 bosses as well.
Yes. Let me just say, so I did, obviously everybody here watching probably knows this by now, but I did the 2nd level, the Bomberman level. I did all the enemies, but the little fire wheel, and I did the boss, which the boss was actually the first
boss
thing
you've made, yeah.
Yeah, not only was it the first boss I made, it was the first thing I did for the level at all. I didn't even have a level made. I was like, okay, maybe I should tackle the boss before anything, so that I can see the scope of how I want to do my level. And let me just say that boss took about 2 weeks straight of just working on it, learning stuff, learning how to operate it.
And not just that, but you also buffed the boss as well, like later on.
Yeah. Yes. The Plasma Freezer Venus, actually. Freezer Venus, that's her name, I keep kidding. The version you see in the videos, that's the buff version. She originally was not. I'd say she was pretty easy. Definitely, I'd say at least definitely worth being a second boss. she was actually intended to be the first boss, fun fact.
In fact, that level was intended to be the first level, funny enough. But then, like, really think about it, and also the fact that Coopster was kind of making, like, a first level equivalent. We were deciding, well, okay, at the time, Coopster was making the level, but last minute we had to switch to Big Brawler, who, let me just say, did an amazing job with the time crunch. Like,
Big Brawler is a hero.
He saved our asses, pretty much.
He really did, because Big Brawler was not and did not do the level. I would have had to do the level and the boss.
Yeah, and that would have been a lot. But, yeah, back to, like, your level. That was supposed to be the first level initially, but we switched it, like, a little later into development because, well, it kind of looked a little tougher than expected, but also, yeah, it just seems to make a little more sense for the more chocolatey, more different kind of levels to appear, like, after the first level, because the first level was more like a Brutal Mario tribute of its own, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just feels right to, like, start the game with that instead of, like, kind of doing, oh, it's Bomberman, but then suddenly it's Brutal Mario, and then suddenly it's, yeah. So, it just seemed a little better to organize it in that way. So.
Yeah, and not to mention, I actually was not intending on making the level as difficult as it is. I just tend to, I guess, go a bit overboard without knowing, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As for, like, my crazy level, I started on the boss first as well. Like, I actually started on the final boss, not, like, the mini-boss, and I saw this game. It pops, I think it was either it popped up in my recommended, or I just I was looking it up because I saw in Spider's Resource the title set from OMH, the explosion level, and I was like, oh, whoa, like, this is kind of what this game looks like, huh? And I looked it up, I was like, whoa, this SNES game has, like, full motion video? What? And then I looked more into it, and, like, the final boss looked pretty crazy. I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm gonna do. So I downloaded the ROM, and I actually fought that boss, just to kind of get a grasp of, like, how it worked, so I could, like, adapt into Mario World. And I also ripped that tile set, fun fact. The one for, like, the final boss. I ripped both tile sets. Although I did take the Mario 64 background from the texture resource, so
yeah.
Shout out to them. But yeah, no, I ripped like the foreground assets there, and that was, let me just say, that was like, it's not the hardest boss I ever coded, but that was quite the task. It took me like the entire contest deadline to actually get that done. And then I also was teaching Evil Guy and Wakanda how to code bosses at the same time.
Not to mention, you were making enemies for every level. Everybody's level, yeah.
Yeah, I did actually make a sprite for everybody, though one of them got unused because, again, Big Brawler had to come in last minute, and he didn't have time to figure out which sprite was what to insert, so it kinda ended up getting unused. But that's the story behind that. Yeah, the final boss is nuts. Some people got a little confused or struggled quite a lot with that fight, which, my apologies, but also I'm not that sorry because it looks epic and, you know, some fights in Brutal Mario are just as difficult, in my opinion, so.
Yeah, I'd say the difficulty with the final boss, it's not so much that it's difficult. Well, it is difficult, but it's not so much that it's difficult, it's that you're getting used to... Most people probably haven't fought a momentum-based boss, so...
That's true, too.
It's a fairly new... I'd say it's a fairly new type of boss. But once you get used to how to make the momentum, it's not any more difficult than your average really difficult boss, I'd say. And I have 400 plus bosses behind my belt, by the way, in case anyone's wondering.
If you guys didn't know or didn't realize who made the videos, but Evil Guy's the one who made the Subaru Custom Boss Rush series, so he's fought nearly 500 bosses.
I defeated Cancer Lord for crying out loud. That was not
just that boss, but also like the other final boss from V3. Actually, he fought all the world bosses.
Yeah, it was not. Let's just say, yeah. It's probably the most difficult season I've ever had.
And you also fought Climax without checkpoints. That's still ridiculous.
Yeah, Climax, I'm very surprised I did that. I don't know what made me want to do it with checkpoints, but let's try it, and I absolutely clutched it. But anyways, yeah. What was I saying about the boss? Yeah, it's not any more difficult than your average difficult boss once you get the hang of it.
It took a lot of planning to get that boss just right, because I knew if I went in without, like, that much research, it would take, like, over the contest deadline. So I had to, like, make my own, like, checklist on how the boss is gonna function before I actually coded it. Especially the third phase. Which, fun fact, Roy, and Bowser, and, like, the Machine Devil is kind of based off of, like, the final boss from Super Turrican 2, which is what I was talking about earlier. But,
yeah. So,
I did code an enemy from Super Turrican 2. Not accurate to the game, because, like, I kind of only saw the final boss, when I was playing it, and I didn't play... There's a cheat code to, like, skip levels in the game, right? So it's like, I played, like, a little bit of some of the levels, but I was mainly just researching the boss. But, yeah, that one enemy that, like, tracks when you're under it, yeah, that was, one of the enemies from Super Turrican 2 as well. Yeah, as for the mini-boss, it's super simple. It's probably the simplest boss I've ever coded in a long time. All he does is he shoots quite a few fireballs, and then he moves back a little bit, he speeds up ahead, and then he turns around. That's the entire loop of the boss, and it gets faster when you hit him more times. Looks cool though, and you know what? Some bosses are just that simple in Brutal Mario.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at one of the bosses from the Brutal Mario, and it's literally you spin jump on a block, you lead the boss to that pit, and it just burns. That is literally one of the bosses in Brutal Mario. Funny, but, you know, not quite the hardest fight in the world. So, I knew to keep things simple when I needed to, and yeah, I also did the title screen, the story, the overworld, which is still, like, insane.
Yeah, you did a lot. You did a lot. You know, you led good. You helped everybody with their levels and needed, while still able to balance your workload.
And then Evil Guy also managed the bass drum while I was away, because I had to go to, like, a Halloween party at, like, my mother's place.
Yeah, that was new for me. Whenever I'm a part of a collab, I mean, me and Daizo have collabs with a couple collab projects.
I am part of Jump Team, so I would know.
I never actually managed the bass drum. I've always just, you know, contributed, but I actually have to, like, manage everybody's resources, make sure I had the right resources and whatnot, and inserted everything correctly. And while it wasn't too complicated for some levels, let me just say Wakana's level, the Castlevania level, that had a lot of resources and a lot of sub-levels, so I had that. It was not surprised that I forgot a couple things and didn't entirely insert it correctly, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I remember I had to fix quite a few things when I came back, but you know, I got done in the end, and that did help me a lot, so I really have to thank you for doing that for me while I was away.
No problem.
But yeah, the fact that I took a break and we still managed to finish it, unlike one of the other HackJAM entries.
Yeah.
That's another reason why this game existing is just madness.
It is pretty okay. Let me put it in perspective. We had 5 levels. It was gonna be
6, but we knew that was like an optional thing. We did not like consider that to be part of development. We had a plan, and I think we executed it pretty much perfectly.
Yeah, and it was 5 levels. I'd say about most of them are like fairly gimmicky and a bit lengthier, while the other ones are shorter. The levels, well, okay, aside from probably the Castlevania level that probably took the longest.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm gonna guess, but
I think
it's the 5 bosses per level.
Yes. Yeah, my level had like 5 bosses in it. Or no, it has 4 bosses. I kind of consider like all 3 phases to be separate boss fights, and then I also made the princess fight from, like, the bridge and brigade level, but...
Which, if I remember, that was the last...
That was the last... Yeah, that...
right?
Yep, that was the last fight that I coded before, like, the game shipped. Oh, let's let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? Okay, so a tester, one of the testers, we have 3 testers in the Discord group. One of them was like, oh, I encountered this crash in Evil Guy's level. I was like,
no, yeah, okay. I almost repressed that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, okay, so...
I guess you can explain.
My level almost wasn't. Basically, my level was the absolute curse. It's probably what made it so clutch of a release.
In fact, we had to make an update to fix one other thing, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically, my level kept bugging out and crashing thereon. What's happening is every time you'd lay a bomb, there's a chance that you wouldn't be able to lay it because the game wouldn't register the bomb as despawning.
Yeah, it's set to like a dead state that's not clearing, so what I had to do, there was like 4 different things that I did to get that to work. First of all, I made it so that the bomb dies, like, is cleared from memory. The second thing I did was, I don't remember all the steps, but, like, basically, there was a bunch of fixes I had to do, including, like, a pixie-related bug that I addressed.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised was not a thing that was addressed. But, you know what this is not your fault, by the way, but you know what the worst thing I discovered was? And this was before the update. The worst thing was, there was a block that was accepted to Sumaru Central that a moderator edited to include this supposed fix, and that fucking crashed your level.
Yeah, the funny thing is that wasn't even... That crashed my level, but that wasn't even the main source of the level crashing. It was
that block.
God-forsaken Uber ASM that kept freaking... It just kept bugging out.
The Uber ASM wasn't crashing, that was the block, but...
Yeah, the block kept...
The Uber ASM was extremely cursed. I had to edit the sprite itself to deal with what the Uber ASM was supposed to do. And yeah, it was so cursed. And let me say that I finished my level first, and probably about 2 weeks before the original deadline. So you were the first and you were the last.
Yeah, so I was done with everything. I was done with the level, I was done with the boss, I was done with the enemies. I was living pretty good until that we found out about that bug, about the things despawning and the ROM crashing. It took us probably the entirety of the rest of the competition to fix it.
Yeah, and I was also working on the princess boss at the same time, pretty much. I was like, oh yeah, it will be a simple, but I'm gonna deal with it later. Oh, now I have to deal with it. And it's like days before it's supposed to be released.
Yeah,
Though funny enough, if it makes you feel better, there was something that Wakana had to fix in the post-update as well. Because if you die during that boss, if you went back into Wakana's level, something about the assistant sprite, as well as the entire system altogether, just stopped working.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of bugs, just in general.
And somehow Nope's contest had the same thing as your level, where, like, the main sprites weren't despawning correctly.
Yes, but
that was fun.
For Nope, it was the entirety of the sprites. All the sprites. For me, it was just a bomb sprite that was...
And that was totally my fault. Like, I didn't know the way sprites worked was, if you set it to this dead state, it'll never despawn. I don't know why, and I don't know how other sprites with that exact same thing works, but regardless.
Yeah, and honestly, it's pretty understandable, because a lot of me I'm not sure the amount of information ASM knowledge that Wakana had at the time, but I was literally just getting into actually making level with ASM for the first time.
Basically, what I taught Wakana was how to code sprites. I taught you pretty much how to make sprites as well. You had a tiny bit of knowledge going in.
Yeah, I knew how to make blocks and Uber ASM. I learned that, and I was like studying for ASM for like a month straight before we started. So I knew some knowledge prior to going in. I just hadn't used it with anything before.
Yeah, and Wakana came in with like pretty much the same thing. They knew how to make like blocks and Uber ASM stuff. And there were some different things I had to teach Wakana because they had to figure out how to make their own HUD, pretty much. And I knew the method I gave them wasn't perfect, but I taught them how to print sprites graphics or like sprite tiles onto the screen because that's kind of how that works. And later I had to fix it anyway because we switched the retry patch into the Uber ASM version of it.
Yeah.
So, let's just say it was quite buggy when we were working on it, but we managed to fix most of it by the end of it. There are some issues, like the fact people were legitimately pissed off when they defeated the tank sprite in the 4th level, but they died by touching the tank that's supposedly dead and about to explode. No, that's real. People actually were pissed off. Yep. That's not a joke. People were... Yeah, no, that actually happened, and I'm kind of shocked, because, like, you know that's still an enemy, right? Just because the guy's gone doesn't mean it's dead.
Yeah.
Yet.
It's like, it's technically not dead.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense to me in my brain. If the enemy's there, and the tank hurts you, suddenly the tank doesn't hurt you when the enemy's gone? No, it would still hurt you. At least that's how I thought about it.
Yeah, because it's not dead. It's not dead. It's still alive. It's just gonna self-destruct on you, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I went back to watch Magical Pop, and indeed, same thing there, except, well, it actually moved. So, okay, how it worked in Magical Pop is, it's completely reversed. If the penguin is in the tank, it won't move. But if the penguin's gone, then it moves and tries to kill you.
Oh.
I kinda had it the other way, but...
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I went back to see the gameplay footage, and indeed, that's kinda how it works. So, the funny thing is, I made all the enemies before watching the game, but I made the boss with the knowledge. Pretty much, so...
And, I'm kind of a believer of not everything needs to be convenient for the player, as easy as it would just to have spin jump on everything. Sometimes it's nice to, have the players just think a little bit on how to deal with things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is fair to me that if you spin jump on the enemy, the tank should be spin jumpable. Like, that's fair to me, and that's what I didn't do, because I didn't think about that, and that's why that's kind of how that is, but still. So anyway, to, like, conclude this discussion, because we're 27 minutes in already.
Oh, wow.
I can't believe this game exists.
Yeah, and looks like everything we worked towards, looks like it paid off.
Yeah. And not only did it pay off, but it actually won.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it paid off.
Straight up won.
I am flabbergasted. We friggin' 4 gold and 2 silver trophies. Holy.
And like 6 of 7 trophies as opposed to the 5 that the second place winner got.
Yeah.
We got best in the show tied with like the second place winner, but we earned more trophies and more gold trophies as well, so...
I think this is officially the first contest I've been a part of that won.
Technically, Cracked Cafe had like a first place trophy, but
was it like Life of the Party?
Yeah, first in Life of the Party. Yeah, I have like 2 other HackJAMs like of experience, so I definitely knew how to like participate in this contest. But when this one came up, I had 2 ideas. I'm going to conclude the video with this. I had 2 ideas. One of them was a Mario retelling. Mario the creepypasta. I was going to, like, reinterpret the details from that creepypasta into, like, an actual game.
Yeah.
Which, that would have been interesting, but the second idea I had was, what if we were the ones to do a Brutal Mario successor? I guess the idea worked.
Yeah.
I'd
say.
It's pretty obvious now with hindsight, but at the time I was really thinking about it. Because it's near Halloween, it makes sense. But no, I'm glad we did the Brutal Dream.
I am awesome. If you didn't do the Brutal Dream, I would probably not be sitting here right now being able to freaking actually
Dude, you coded so many bosses since then.
Yeah.
You coded so many bosses since then.
I probably wouldn't have these bosses on my channel if that was not the case. So I'm like 100% happy you went with Brutal Dream.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Guy, for joining me on this discussion. And, next time, I don't know, I'll probably talk about something completely different. But probably still some road hacking related, funny enough. So, this is Daizo Discuss.
This is Guy 0613.
And, well, you know what I say. It's never goodbye. It is always...
I'll see you later.
Correct. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thanks for having me.